Hey, y'all. Bryant Young.
And Derek Chaney.
Here with the Decent Dads podcast. Very excited for our episode this week. We had our probably most influential guest we've ever had.
Yeah. We had Travis Liles here on the episode, and honestly, I've been looking forward to having him as a guest
for sure
since we started this, and even had the idea of it. Not even necessarily started recording. I knew he would have a ton of good input, stories. Even slid in a couple good jokes there on it.
God, slipped one right past us again. We're going to have to figure out how to pick up dad jokes.
I know.
Or at least me. You got it.
We are some rookies over here on the dad joke side. We nailed one today. But,
yeah, we both. It was really good.
Yeah.
We did good on the dad jokes today. So, hey, way to go, Dad. So we've, again, got a really exciting episode for you here today. So hope you enjoy it. And here we go. Good evening, folks, and welcome back to the Decent Dads podcast. We're here to tell dad jokes, drink coffee, and build a community of dads navigating fatherhood together. I'm Bryant Young, fearless leader and co-host, girl dad, and your friendly local insurance agent based out of Springfield, Missouri. And now, before we start today's episode, please help me welcome. He's a 6'3" sophomore shooting guard from small town Missouri. He wishes he was a first-team All-American, but instead, he is the coolest co-host with the most, a fantastic father of two, and the home loan expert. Folks, put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Derek Chaney. How are you, DC?
Doing good. Thanks again for the invite. And the introduction there.
That was better this week.
It was. You did good.
I cut out a lot of the crap. There was a lot of just extra junk in there. That
got rid of the the pauses. You did good. But no. Me. I just actually just got back from a week-long vacation.
Sunny Mexico.
In Mexico. And so I was away from the wife and kids for 7 days. So I am pumped to be back. I was ready to be back after like day 2.
I can't believe you're here.
Missing the little guys, missing my wife. But I'm even more pumped about our guest this week.
Yeah, we are.
Have an awesome guest, Travis Liles. We've known Travis for quite a while. We were all friends well before we were all married. Mm-hmm. Definitely before we had kids.
Oh, yeah.
Known him for a while. Have some great stories on him. He has some great stories on us. But
and now we're going to put him on camera.
What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. What's the worst?
Yeah, Travis. Introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us a little bit, about yourself, what it is you do. Give us your dad resume. Tell us how many kids you have, ages, which one's your favorite. Just kind of go from there.
Okay. 34 years old. 5'9" and a half.
Nice.
$180. Not a shooting guard. From Springfield. We met.
But you're on the all hustle team,
dude.
Oh, definitely.
All hustle for
captain
sure.
Captain.
Hard work, you baby.
The 5 spot on the all hustle team. I'm
exactly.
Pretty sure. But no, we have known each other for. It's been over a decade now.
Yeah, almost.
I'm trying to think of.
You and I've known each other since high school.
Yeah.
But we were in Rotaract in the mid 2010s, like 2012, 13, 14 ish.
No, we're rolling on that decade time frame, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But work here in town. Work with Forvis Wealth Advisors, Forvis Private Client, financial advisor by day, parent of 2 by night. My wife Madeline, we've been together for 9 years now. I think been married since 2018. Got 2 little kiddos. Dad resume. I got a 2.5-year-old girl, Emmy. My 3-month-old son Harrison. They all still have their limbs and appendages. So
success.
Dad win.
Dad win. Can change diapers pretty well. Can parent too while my wife's away. So I feel they're surviving still. So I feel like resume's all right. It's all right.
That's perfect. Yeah. Well, we're super glad you're here. One of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast is that we found that as our buddies have gotten older and as our families have grown, we have less and less time to spend together outside of just, doing networking junk and stuff around town. So this opportunity to hang out and drink a couple of coffees while we talk about stupid dad stuff, this was exactly why we wanted to do this. So we're super glad you're here. Figured we'd jump right into it. We don't have a solid agenda or anything, but we always have a couple of things we like to talk about every week. First and foremost, and this one will strike near and dear to your heart because I think you experience the same things we do. We like to start with tantrum of the week. I know,
or the day.
Yeah, true. I mean,
Sure.
week, day, hour, whatever it is.
Yeah.
This is going to come out later, but it is actually just a day before Halloween. So, excuse me, it's the 30th today. So we were trying to get Elsie set up yesterday, trying to get her in her Halloween costume. I'm really excited about it. She's a little alien with a little flying saucer that goes around her waist, and the flying saucer lights up, and it's got a little green hood thing that goes over her. Our tantrum of the week is that we're not going to get to wear that costume because she will not. I have not. So if you guys have advice on how to convince your toddler to do something that they don't want to do, I'll take it. Because right now,
That's a hard sell.
we're going to have to figure out something else for her to wear because she is flat out refusing. It's just not going to happen.
That's tough.
Do you have any tantrums this week? Anything that you've dealt with? Anything jarring? Really putting you on the spot here. Sorry about that.
No. It's hard to say because you get tantrums every day. Is trying to measure them on a scale. So we could go with just the nightly ritual tantrum, which is I don't want to put on my pajamas unless I've picked them out. I'm putting them on at my own leisure, and I've also run 3 laps around the house before they come on. But no, I can't think of anything specific. And the 3-month-old Harrison's too small for tantrums.
Right.
He's just in his nurse poop and sleepy phase.
Yeah, you're in the golden phase.
It is. It's great. He can't even roll over yet, right?
Yeah.
So he's stationary.
They can't
phase.
move. Yeah, exactly. I didn't know it until we were out of it, but that was the really exciting time.
Yeah.
Cameron Cassad was a recent guest, and one of his favorite, his dad hack was when have just one kid and they're in that I can't move stage, leave the house. Go on dates. Go to happy hour. Leave the house. Take your kid with you. Don't just leave them at home. But go somewhere because they can't run away at the restaurant or wherever you're going to sit.
You'll be sleeping the whole time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
And Springfield, with as many awesome outdoor breweries as we got, you can just go sit out there and hang out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Well,
you were gone.
Yeah, I just mentioned I've been gone for the last 7
So,
days.
yeah, that didn't really- that doesn't work.
I actually avoided 7 days worth of tantrums there, so
I'm jealous.
I'm going to get so many probably this afternoon and this whole week. But it did make me think back on a conversation that I actually had with Travis a while ago, and we brought it up on our very first episode.
Yeah.
And Travis, I don't know if you remember this, but it was at a Good Morning Springfield. I think it was back in February. Me and you hadn't seen each other for a while, so we was just catching up, sharing dad stories. And it was a very important conversation, I guess, for my parental mental health.
Which is a term
Yeah,
we're going to coin.
I'm
We're working on
trademarking
trademarking that.
But you were talking about, and I hadn't said anything. You started the conversation, and you're talking about how Emmy was just going through all these tantrums, these unprovoked tantrums, and you can't really do anything to calm her down. You just have to kind of wait it out. And I remember you saying something like, "Yeah, we just got to where we'd time them and see how long they lasted." And I thought that was funny. And so as you're telling me this, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, I am going through this exact same thing at this exact same time. Liam's doing all this same stuff. And before you told me that story, you're thinking to yourself as a parent, you're like, oh man, what am I doing wrong? Right. What do I need to change? But then hearing you tell that, I'm like, oh man, it's just such a relief. I'm like, there's other guys out there that are going through the same shit I'm going through. I mean, I know the situation sucked for both of us, but
At least you can commiserate in the suck.
But hearing you talk about it just made me feel, again, so good and such a big relief. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that story with me.
Yeah, in many ways,
Sure.
you are the reason why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So whether you know it or not, you're one of the main reasons that we're doing this, because we want to give dads a chance to talk about this kind of stuff, whether it's funny or it's not funny.
I'd like to apologize to all of your listeners out there for having any role in creating this.
This is your fault. We're going to send any complaint and hate mail to your house.
Fair.
Yeah, all the negative comments. So, done tantrum of the weekday year. What about a dad hack? Do you have any specific things? I'm trying to think of, we talked about a few things that you had on your list ahead of this podcast, but, some of the dad hacks. One of the ones that I thought of this week was investing in a pair of noise canceling headphones. But not just so you can drown out your kids. Like, you actually still need to pay attention to your children.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean it. I'm serious.
Where are you going with this?
Where are you going with this? It's not. Yeah. Actually, my notes say invest in a pair of noise canceling headphones, but not for the reason you think. So it's not just to drown your children out. When we were trying to get Elsie to sleep through the night, the only way we could finally get it done was if I got a pair of noise canceling headphones and popped them in Liv's ears, and then like sent her to a different part of the house so that she didn't have to hear Elsie screaming, because inevitably the screaming munchkin, whether it's mom, dad, or both, it's the hardest thing to listen to in the world. I think you could both probably attest to
For sure.
I mean, that's been the hardest thing, at least for me personally. So the noise canceling headphones were key, so that only one of us had to suffer through that. Okay, we're gonna have to cry a little bit, I promise. And we did it for 15 minutes, and she fell asleep. So it was perfect. But noise canceling headphones are a must for me. That's one of mine. Do you have any dad hacks that you like, Trav?
My favorite dad hack is my wife. The end of the day,
marry a really good mom.
At the end of the day, I'm just like, all right, I'm out, Maddie. You're up.
Marry a really good mother. I love that.
But there's a couple. It just depends on the situation. We use baby dolls often as like surrogates. So like, if Emmy's not about brushing her teeth tonight, we're like, oh, okay, well, what if baby brushes your teeth, right? And then she's like, oh, well, that's intriguing. Like, okay, baby doll, let's do this. So then we get, her baby. Then you have the task of holding your daughter, holding the baby doll, getting the toothbrush in the baby doll's hands.
Oh gosh,
lathering it up, and performing the toothbrushing exercise that way, or feeding dinner. Baby dolls sit at the table and eat dinner sometimes to feed her. So, I guess the hack of
I really like
leveraging
that.
baby dolls as like surrogates to help with acts where they're like, I don't want you to do it, but I'm intrigued that baby doll will do it.
Baby gets to do it, and I'm jealous that he or she gets to do it. So I want to do that instead. I'm jealous now.
Baby can feed me, but I'm not going to let you feed me sweet potatoes, Dad. Get out of here.
And then I'm sure you always saw yourself playing with baby dolls at 30 plus years old,
right?
Too, right?
Hey, you know what? The baby doll quality's gotten better over the last 30 years. I'll tell you that. So, higher quality baby dolls to play with these days.
That's actually funny.
Kids are spoiled now.
My in-laws dropped a bunch of stuff off at my house a couple of weeks ago, and it was a lot of Olivia's stuff. And in there was a Minnie Mouse doll from when Liv was a little kid, and now Elsie's been playing with it. Dude, they don't make toys like they used to. Those things, it's like rock solid plastic and it weighs like 5 pounds. So if it falls the wrong way, it's gonna maim a small child.
Break a foot.
Yeah, but it's like, good grief, this is not like the little soft plushy thing I was expecting it to be for a Minnie Mouse doll. Did you have any this week? Anything that you can think of?
Well, it made me think about, we was talking to one of our buddies that they're getting ready to have a little one. So we were we were sharing some of our dad hacks with him, and it made me think. We talk a lot about our kids, after they're here, right? And because we have all these stories, but we don't really talk about like the moment that they get here. I guess
sure.
Like, when we're in the hospital, like waiting on them to be delivered. Like I know, having 2 kids now, both of Allie's deliveries were so different, and there's 2 good stories behind those too. But one of the things you said earlier, Travis, was that you actually have a pretty good delivery story, or you learned a lot about yourself
for sure
whenever you guys were in the hospital. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, and I feel really blessed through both of our deliveries, because we straddled the COVID nightmare, right? Like Emmy was born in January of 2020. Harrison was born just July, right? 2022. So we went through normal delivery processes, right? Like, you're not confined to a number of people, we're in the mass scare. So the uncertainty was gone with that. So that was nice. Thanks. My coffee was running a little low.
Yeah, just need some more froth on the coffee there.
Yeah. So the prep work going into Emmy's delivery, you go through all the classes, you're doing the birthing technique classes, you're how to take a kid home to a doghouse classes, you're feeling really confident and like feel like, I'm ready to go on this, right?
Yeah.
So we feel pretty good. We feel pretty good. And so it's beginning of January. Emmy's not due till February 2nd. And all of a sudden, Maddie's like getting all these stomach cramps and all these back pains. And we're like, man, the gas is really acting up tonight. It's just a rough night.
I can't wait till she hears this podcast.
She's going to be so excited to hear
Hey,
that.
we were both faking it all night.
Yeah, of
course. Sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's like all through the night though, she's not getting any sleep, and I'm like, I'm gonna sleep. I've got meetings and stuff. So anyway, the morning rolls around, and like it's pretty it's a little severe. She's like, we're kind of serious right now. This might actually be a thing. It's 3 weeks early. We're 3 weeks before the due date. So we're like, no, there's no way. So we get ready though, and I'm like, all right, well now we're timing contractions early in the morning, and I'm like, all right, well this is getting kind of serious now.
Time. Or is it?
So I'm like, well, it's about 5. I've got like 5 meetings this week and like a whole bunch of stuff going on at work. I'm gonna head into the office for a little bit, and then like I'll check on you later, and I'll be home if we're getting serious. So I go into the office. I'm there till about like 8:30. Kind of let my coworkers know, like, hey, I think Maddie's in labor right now, so I'm probably gonna leave. And they all kind of look at me like,
did they say, what the hell are you doing here?
Why are you here?
Yeah. So, and they tell the story much better than I do from their perspective. I'm still in the shock, non-belief, this is happening kind of phase.
Sure.
So I race home. It's about 9:15. I'm on my way home, and I'm calling her. I'm like, hey, heading home. Are you still having contractions? And she's like, she didn't answer. Her sister Catherine answered because Catherine and her dad are there, like while Maddie's, in pre-labor. So we're like, okay, yeah, this is a thing. Like, all right. So I get home, pick up my wife, we go to the hospital. We go in there, and of course we're like the horror stories you hear of like people showing up early.
Sure.
And we're not going to be those parents
being
that get
sent
there.
away.
We're being a wuss.
Yeah.
Go home. You're being a wuss, right? So Maddie's like, I'm not doing that. You guys know my wife, right?
Yeah,
She's-
of course.
So we got there, and the lady's checking us in. Oh, we drove into the parking garage. We're walking past the emergency room entrance at Cox South, and all of a sudden we got to stop. She's in contractions. The lady comes out from the emergency room. Hey, do you guys need a wheelchair or anything like that? Maddie's like, no, we're fine. Fine,
She
like we
would
can
say
make it. So we walk our way all the way in, the labor and delivery area, and the lady's checking us in, and she gives us the full right, names and processes. Who's your doctor? Let's get you checked out. Yeah, put the little things on, to measure heartbeats and all that stuff. Well, we're finally to the point where she's like, all right, well, just let's just see how far you are.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're at a 7. Did you want an epidural?
My God.
And so,
It's too late now.
yeah. She's like, yeah, you need to be there now. So we're like, oh, this is cool. So they race us down to the thing, downstairs to the delivery rooms. Give Matt, sticking in there. Maddie's getting a needle in. We're going. Yeah, Amy was born like 3.5 hours. From getting to the hospital till it's all done, and yeah, that was wild. So it was a kind of a blink of an eye kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where, like
Holy
just
crap.
8 hours ago, I was at work doing work, and then this happened. So that weekend was great, but it tells you a lot about yourself. Like, you think you're ready, you think you're prepared. You don't want to be a wuss, and then you have a baby, and everything changes. And the other side of that, we were leaving. So we're there. We're there 2 nights. Really just getting pent up, and I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get home. Like, I am tired of this process.
Sure.
So we're finally getting ready to check out. The poor Social Security lady's been by twice because we didn't know Amy's name. Oh, we didn't know if she was going to be a boy or girl, right? So we did find out the gender.
I forgot about that.
I don't have the ability to do that. Did you
So,
guys do that?
Yeah, we found out as soon as we could.
Yeah, me too. I don't.
My wife
have
being the planner, like that was not going to.
Not an option on the table.
No.
I don't have the balls that you guys did. There's no way. I had to know.
So we didn't know the gender until she was born, and then we were trying to decide and kind of narrow down our top 3 like favorite girl names, and then the Social Security lady came back on the 3rd time. We're finally like, all right, we can give you this name. We feel confident, like we're comfortable with this decision.
Yeah.
So anyway, Emmy Jo Liles was born. So we're there, and it's the 2nd day, and I'm just like, I don't know, probably sleep deprived, cranky, and just not in it
Ready to be
anymore.
out.
Oh yeah.
So I just take the liberty of like going and loading the car up. Like I go down to the 1st floor, I grab a wheelchair all the way up to the top. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's get out of here. And we're loading up, and the nurse is up there like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, you guys can't just leave. Like, you got to
Want to bet?
be.
Watch me. Here we go.
What are you talking about? Like, I got the car pulled up and everything. Like, let's do this. And so apparently, though, you actually have to be checked out with like a nurse that has to wheel your wife out. With the baby
I did
and
know
stuff.
that. I do only
Yeah, I
because
didn't know
we
that.
did that the one time.
So yeah. So anyway,
I didn't
they
know
didn't-
that it
they
was
didn't
that
like that.
fast. I knew that she was early.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that it was a like you went from office to baby in like a 5-hour period.
Yeah, it was bananas, man. It was very fast, very fast.
Holy
delivery.
crap.
Which is why on like baby 2 Harrison, we're like, oh man, Emmy was so fast. We need to be ready for this. Well, we went in with Harrison like 2 days before he was born. They're like, yeah, you need to go home. Like nothing's happening.
Oh, so you did get
we
sent
went
away.
We went in at like midnight on like a Monday night for Harrison. The 2 weeks or week and a half prior, and we got sent home, and we're like, blemish on our record as right?
We lost. So did he get all the way to the due date?
No, he was a week early.
Okay,
but Emmy was 3 weeks early, so we're like any moment now.
Were you
And,
guys like
anyway.
that? Were you at or before or after?
Well,
the due date.
Liam was literally born. I guess he was actually born on the day that Allie was supposed to get induced, but her water broke at 10 o'clock the night before. And so we went into the hospital, but we did an opposite where, you guys almost waited too long. Well, we went in a little bit early, and so we go in at 10 o'clock, and they're like, yeah, you're only, I think, a 1 or 2.
Because the water broke. Like, you're going in.
Well,
yeah, that's when you're supposed to go.
It's your first child, right?
Yeah.
You see it on the movies like, oh, this baby's going to be here in like 2 seconds, right? So we run into the hospital. Allie's at a 1. They're like, okay, well, we're just going to let you kind of hang out to you get a little bit farther along. And, in those labor rooms, they got those big, nice recliners. So I sit down in one.
Derek's camping out,
and,
checking out some Facebook.
Luckily, Allie's sisters were there at the time, too. And so they were, like, with her. And Allie went walking around the hallway and with her sisters. And I just pass out in one of those chairs. I slept for a good solid 4 hours.
Did you really?
And yeah, and
How did I not know this?
and so
gosh.
like now, like Allie gives me so much crap
of
for
course.
that. She's like,
absolutely.
She's like, oh yeah, I'm just over here having a baby, and you're just sleeping away, like nothing's going on.
Catching some Z's, Mom. Catching some Z's.
So yeah, she still hates me for that, but it's okay. But yeah, so anyways, and then finally Liam was born like in the afternoon that next day. So I mean, it was almost a 24-hour labor, But then with Brody, we had the same thought process what you had with Emmy on the first. Allie was getting contractions. She's like, oh no. She's like, I don't want to be in the hospital for forever, right?
Yeah.
She's like, we'll wait. She's like, I don't even know for sure if they're contractions. And I was like, are you sure? And she's like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And so yeah, I can't remember what I did. I left the house for something and then came back shortly after. And she's like, okay. She's like, I think I'm having some. She's like, we should probably go now. They're getting pretty strong. So we drop off Liam at the grandparents on the way to the hospital, and literally and I don't even know why she was holding Liam, but for whatever reason she was holding Liam. She's handing him to Grandpa, and she has a contraction and almost drops her child.
Oh shoot!
And even Grandpa was like, "You need to get out of here.
Go now."
And so we get to the hospital, checking in. They ask you that questionnaire. Allie can't even fill it out, so I'm filling it out for her. And they're like, and Allie's like, "We got to get a room now." So we go into that pre-room or whatever it is they call it.
Yeah.
And they check her, and yeah, the nurse is like, "Oh, he's here." She's like, "I need help."
He's
And
here. I need help.
Yeah, she like screams.
That's what you want to hear a nurse say. I need help.
She screams
Shit.
this, and maybe like 5 seconds went by, but it felt like forever, and nobody comes in the room. And so she's like, "I need help." She's just like screaming this down the hallway, and then like 5 nurses come in. They wheel Allie into the delivery room. And our doctor's not there yet. He's on the way. He's driving in, and so they're like getting Allie hooked up to the IVs and all that stuff. And she's like, "I want an epidural. I really want an epidural." And they're like, "Okay, well, we got to get you hooked up all this stuff." She didn't know that they were lying to her because she was too far along to get the epidural. Right? Luckily, her doctor walks in right about this time. And he's trying to like make a joke with her, and Allie's so far along. She's like, "I'm not having jokes." And so
no funny. Have baby.
He checks
no
her.
funny.
Joke faces.
Yeah, he checks her, and he's like, "Oh, you're crowning." And so like he puts on his gloves and his suit, and literally gets back down there, and Brody shoots out like into his hands. And so,
oh boy,
literally. By the time we checked in to the time Brody was in our hands was less than 30 minutes.
Oh my!
Holy crap!
Your wife just like
we had
beast mode the whole process, like
yeah.
at home.
So
I will forever not be. Excuse me. I will forever be impressed with women during the childbirthing process.
You have a whole different perspective of your life
my God.
after seeing them go through that.
Heard.
Well, and it's one of those deals where it makes me feel bad that I offer to lift stuff for my wife sometimes because I know for a fact she's way stronger than I ever thought about being. So our deal was weird. Elsie was 6 days late. She overcooked by 6 days. Liv was miserable for the first 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the actual due date, because everybody is. Sorry, not everybody. Most mothers are wiped by that time. Right. And Liv will tell you herself, she's like, I felt gigantic. I mean, just gigantic. And we get 6 days past the due date. We've been to the doctor 4 different times that week. And he's like, well, we're just not there yet. We're still at a 1. And we had been at a 1 for like days.
Forever, probably. Yeah.
And Liv was just furious. But so we're scheduled to be induced at 7 o'clock in the morning on the 24th, or on the 20, excuse me, on, yeah, the 26th. Yeah, just making sure I got the dates right. Scheduled to be induced in the morning. And at 5 o'clock, Liv starts going into contractions, and they're heavy duty. And the water, I don't remember if her water broke at home or if it was in the hospital, but it was one of those deals where it was like, of course, we get a due date set, and Liv's going to get right in front of that due date.
Right.
So we're in the hospital. I get her. We run into one of Liv's old drinking buddies from back at the piano bar days as our nurse in the pre-room.
Yeah.
And so she was way less candid, or way more candid, I guess, whichever way you want to look at it, with us than she might have been with a stranger. She's like, Bryant, go get her a egg sandwich from downstairs, because it's the last thing she's going to get to eat for like a day. Go get her a sandwich. So I ran downstairs and got her a sandwich.
The egg sandwich was recommended by the nurse?
Yeah.
Oh, that was, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if, I'm not going to say her name so she doesn't get fired. But yeah, so long story short, my daughter has 2 things in common with me: eye color and head size. And she overcooked for 6 days. So
it's a great triple XL.
Yeah, exactly. Elsie wouldn't fit. Yeah, we're on the last tick on the snapback here.
Sure.
Elsie didn't fit. So Liv labored for like 12, 13 hours and pushed for 5 or 6. And every time they pushed, Elsie's heart rate dropped, because her head was literally getting smushed by the canal that was not large enough for her gigantic dome. So we had an emergency C-section where the doctor said, okay, here's what's happening. Her heart rate's dropping every single time you push. You can either try to deliver this baby naturally, or we can have an emergency C-section. And he said it very matter of fact. He wasn't trying to convince her one way or the other, but you could see it in his eyes. We got to do the emergency C-section, but I'm giving you the choice. And Liv said, okay, we should have the emergency C-section. And it was like somebody had pushed the organized chaos button in that room, and everybody scattered. The doctor was throwing on gloves and running her, and the nurses were pushing me out of the way and put these clothes on, and we'll meet you in the room or down the hall. And from that time to when Elsie was there was like 15 minutes, because they And it could have been longer, it could have been shorter. My brain was so freaking fried at that point that there was no way I was going to know what was what. But so you took 30 minutes from when you got to the hospital. That was the emergency C-section range for us. It was just so, but it's interesting, because we do see, we do talk a lot about being dads once we are dads, but that leading up to it stage, we're not physically involved, but holy shit, are we involved emotionally?
Oh yeah, it changes you a lot as a dad, a parent, a person.
Certainly. All right, Trav. So we were talking ahead of time.
Break.
Yeah, really nice commercial break there. That was good, huh? Yep. That's where Mothers is going to insert their commercial.
Yeah, can't wait for their
Jeff,
new IPA.
Please. We were talking beforehand, and you said that you had a list of the 5 most unhelpful words from your kids. And you were starting to talk about it, and Derek and I looked at each other and then both said, stop, talk about this on the podcast. We don't want to know now. Tell us after, tell us during. So elaborate, will you? Sure. Tell us about the 5 most unhelpful words.
Well, no, so my kid is so Amy, I'm talking about Amy here, the 2.5-year-old. She's very verbal.
Your son's not speaking yet?
I'll show you some videos later. He actually is. The
my gosh.
He's
Is
trying
he really?
to keep up with his sister.
Awesome. He's going to be a rocket scientist.
So
they
we're
both
just
are.
like, maybe for 10 minutes straight, the guy's just like, just making noises, as a 3-month-old does.
I love it.
Anyway.
Yeah, so
not helpful. Amy, very helpful. helpful. So
We like air quotes around here. We like air quotes.
Yeah, because the listeners can definitely tell I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
We
got a camera. We're good.
Yeah. So actually, she's really she's very talented. So she's speaking in sentences. So the 5 most unhelpful words are not just 5 words. It's her sentence, which is, I want to help you. Which is the most unhelpful thing I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
Because it could mean a number of things. It could mean she wants to help you open the door, or help you carry your little brother, or I want to help you, cook dishes over the hot stove, or pour your bourbon into your glass. Like, whatever it is. Like, I want to help you means whatever the simple task is, I need to stop. I need to collect myself. Take a deep breath, because it's now going to take us 30 minutes to do.
All right.
Like, whatever it was.
Sure. But you don't want to discourage that either, right?
Sure.
No.
Like, because, Liam and Emmy are basically the exact same age, and he's in that phase too. He's like, I want to help, and we're unloading the dishwasher, and there's knives in there. And I'm like, Brian had a good idea,
Yep.
So you just got to slow down and be like, you know what? It's okay. Enjoy the moment. It's not always going to be like this, right? So,
which is so hard to do.
It is.
Like,
It
as
is.
dads, right? Like,
it is so hard.
Because we're I know I am. I'm very much Mr. Fix-It and want to get it done as fast as I can so that I can get back to spending time with my family. So the idea of just rolling with, all right, we're going to do something that should take 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it a 5-minute task.
Well, yeah, and guys are so mission motivated.
Sure.
Right? Got to unload the dishwasher. Got to do it right now. 5 minutes is all I got. Right.
Yeah.
Everything we want to do, we want to be efficient, because we're about time, efficiency, solving problems,
Sure.
being the dad, and then it's like goes against everything we're trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Elsie has not said I want to help because she doesn't speak full sentences yet. She just is a parrot for her mother and I, which is a whole problem. You mentioned earlier that you cuss too much. No, you don't. It's Liv and I that are the problem. It's only a matter of minutes.
Doing very well. I feel I'm doing very well. Maddie
Good
can
for you.
correct me, but I feel like we're doing all right.
No
she
shits
reminds
coming
me.
from the back seat yet,
No,
or
good. We're good.
motherfuckers cutting you off or anything like that, screaming from the back seat.
No, I feel like we're all right. And part of it is I only have 2 out of 7 days of the week are her exposure to my to my
Saturday
language.
dad.
Vocabulary.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So most of her vocabulary, thank goodness, she gets from her mom. And so she only has to put up with me for a couple of them. So that's a blessing for her.
But that's so Elsie doesn't speak words yet, but she still wants to help with stuff. And her main thing, she says doggies and daddy, and they sound very similar. So she wants to feed daddy, except it's not feeding daddy, it's feeding the dogs. And what would normally be 2 mugs full of dog food that you walk out to the back porch and you dump them in their respective dog bowls. Okay, you carry this one 2 hands. Carry it with 2 hands. Okay, I'll open the door, but we got to set it down to get over the threshold, and then we got to reach back across to get the thing, and it's a 10-minute process. But it is so cute to watch her try to wobble around, because this mug, we use these old plastic beer steins that I got in college as the dog feeding mugs, and it's big enough where she can get both her hands wrapped around there, and she's just waddling around with a thing full of dog food, and it's the cutest thing in the world. So, big fan of that. The most unhelpful I want to help is hilarious, though.
That is funny. I did not expect that.
No, I didn't either. I thought you were going to say please
right.
help. I thought it was going to be 5 individual words. No, it is a full sentence that I want to help.
I want to help you. Is the bane of my existence.
But no, Trav, you mentioned there, and we kind of talked about this earlier too. You said Emmy's only exposed to your vocabulary 2 of the 7 days, right? And one of the things you mentioned to us was, having to relearn how to parent on the weekends, right? Because your household is kind of the I guess the old school traditional, right? Maddie stays at home with the kids during the week. You're working. So what is that like? I guess and how big of an adjustment is that from you going work mode to now full-time dad mode?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's a mental adjustment, and then the physical adjustment too of exhaustion or trying to make it work. So for example, I only get, while it's only I'm off 2 days a week and I work the other 5. You try to be as present as possible.
Of course,
you do show up each night, right? And I'm preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
So you guys know how it is. So you know you're mentally trying to leave everything you can at the office or whatnot when you decide to go home for the night. So there's that, right? But you miss out on the development things, right? What they've learned from Monday to Friday, or the active learning times during the week, the story times, gymnastics, whatever you do. So so playing catch up on the weekends is can be tough. But yeah, it's actually the re-engaging with the little things like patience. And like
again, for guys can be a challenge.
Yeah, right. It's so you're at the week you can kind of pace yourself and be like, you get done from work, you got dinner, bath, bed, and that's the same routine for 5 days in a row. And then on the weekends you're like, well, I mean, we got to figure out something to do all day. Like, we're gonna go to the park, we're gonna go for a walk, we're gonna do activities, we're gonna paint. Like, what are we gonna do? So it's just trying to relearn you give your the 100% of attention for those 2 days as much as possible.
Sure.
And that whole idea is like intentional. And so do you guys feel the same way? Like, it's a
we talked about this.
It's like a psychological shift, because like the traditional, there's like two buckets of thinking, right? There's the parent who's making that bread or bringing home the chicken, whatever phrase you want to use, and then then the mother or the other parent. There's kind of a frame of mind where it's like one bucket of thinking is like, well, they're good at the child rearing and I'm good at everything else, but like there's a separation of parenting. And then there's like the other train of thought, or the other school of thought, that other bucket where it's like we want to be equal parenting and joint parenting intentionally, even though our times maybe is not 50-50 with them. You still want to have joint parenting. So like, do you guys feel similarly to
so Derek and I were prepping for this episode, and we talked about this, and we wanted to float this conversation because you are our first parent who has a spouse that doesn't work outside the home. And so we wanted to get your 2 cents on it, because he and I have talked about it before, where I definitely feel like we get Elsie home from daycare and then it's game on, pretty similarly to what you're describing in the evenings and the weekends, where it's, okay, now's my time. And now's my time to get to spend time and parent and make my impression and make those memories and spend that time with my kid and enjoy that. And that's, I frankly, if I had the ability to, sell our agency for $50 million, that it's definitely not worth, and just stop working and go hang out with my kid all day, I would 100% without doubt do that. But it is a huge mental shift for nights and weekends, where it's almost as if not more exhausting than work, because by the end of Saturday you are wrangling, and I've only got one. I'm fully aware that like my experience pales in comparison to yours, because you've got 2x what I have. You've got multiples. But by the end of Saturday, like, I think last night Liv and I went to bed at like 10 o'clock, maybe. Like, whereas before kids, we would have been, hanging out 12 o'clock, 1:30, whatever, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, having a drink, hanging out. It's like, no, we're going to bed. I'm wiped. Elsie's down. Let's watch it's Halloween weekend, so let's watch a scary movie. And
we did that last night.
Like, I struggle with scary movies. I'm a big wuss. But like,
Disney's the Haunted House with Eddie Murphy. That's
exactly
our version.
Right. What's that warehouse thing? Or the werewolf?
Hocus Pocus are nice.
What's the new werewolf movie on Disney Plus? Yeah, all that stuff. But it's a huge tonal shift from weekday to weekend, and so in that regard, at least for us, it's very similar. Where you get Elsie home from daycare, and then it's your time to plug in and be that active parent and be involved, because while you might have that quote old school setup in your household, it's not quite that old school dads manage this, moms manage that. You want to be active, you want to make your impression, you want Emmy to pursue music because that was something that you were interested in as a kid, or maybe it's basketball for you and Liam and Brody, or whatever it is. Right. You want to have that pursuit with them and try to help make your impression on them, because you don't get to during the week. So I totally understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say, with me, I guess we're kind of like a hybrid almost of it, because
Yours is unique. Your position is unique.
I do, work away from the home, the traditional 5 days a week. However, similar to I'm sure both of you, we do work after hours too. We take phone calls, stuff like that. However, Allie, my wife, luckily she has her own business, self-employed, so her work schedule is very flexible. She's able to be home with the boys a lot.
But then on the weekends, she's full go, doing the whole wedding planning thing, and is gone, basically the whole day there. And so I get the boys. And it really makes me realize how much of a chump or a wuss I am, because I just get back from a 7-day trip, and she's all full, energetic, and all this stuff, and ready to go and hang out with me and whatnot. And then I watch the boys for like one day, and I'm like, whew, like you're saying, man, 10 o'clock rolls around. Let's go to bed.
I'm ready to pass out, right? So, but yeah, no, I mean, I would say we're definitely in that bucket of, hey, yeah, let's it's not 50-50, it's 100%,
way better way of saying it than I did. Yeah, that's really good.
Trying to, take care of the kids, as much as we can. It's not, hey, this is your time with them now, and now it's my time. Like, no, it's, this a dual job coming from both of us here. So
that's been a big topic in our household, that it's no longer I between Liv and I. It is we. And it's the collective we want to make our impression on our daughter, and we want to do cool stuff with Elsie, and we want what's best for her, not I did this and you did that, and it's trying to make it a game or trying to make it a competition. It's just we are taking care of that kid.
I think if it was a competition, all of us three would lose.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm out.
No-brainer.
Yeah. Liv wins for sure. But it is. We wanted to talk about that because it's. You don't strike me as the kind of guy, just because I know who you are and have known you for a long time. You're not the kind of guy who's going to go, well, that's her job, and she only does the child rearing, and I bring the money to the house, and that's where it stops. There's a full wall down the line between our relationship, and that's she does the parenting, and I make the money. That's not where your mindset is. So we wanted to talk about that because we knew that was different than what we had experienced with any of our other guests so far. You have talked about, changing subjects a little bit here. You have talked about struggling with the bedtime routine with me, and I'm. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, please.
No, you have just talked about struggling with the bedtime routine and reading book number 15 that night to try and get Emmy to go to sleep. We wondered if you had any tips or tricks or anything, any input that you wanted to tell us about, because I'm struggling. Elsie's starting to, we finally, after, she's 17 months old now, and for 13 months she didn't sleep. And so we finally, with the help of noise canceling headphones and everything, got her convinced that sleeping through the, going to bed and sleeping through the night was the thing to do. But I struggled for a long time to figure out that I didn't need to take that personally, that my child was not trying to do that to me because she thought I was weak or that she was trying to mess with me on purpose. Like, a baby doesn't know any different. And so I struggled with that for a while to figure out, like, no, she doesn't think you're a wuss. She just doesn't know any better. And so that's just her way of making noise because she has to make noise. But talk to us about your bedtime routine, and have you made any strides? You got any pointers for the Frasers of the world that just had a kid, or anybody? What are some of the things that you've learned?
Man, I'm sure Ryan will do a good job of that, man.
Oh, yeah.
What I've learned through our nighttime bedtime routine for the last, how was Amy, 2 years, 9 months, is that she's the boss. Mm-hmm. That's what I've learned. Mm-hmm. We can start bedtime at 8 o'clock and do let's get her in a bath. Let's maybe just put some soothing, spa music on in the background.
You've tried everything, haven't you?
Lit candles, baby. He's got the full Magilla.
Maddie's done the full Zen exercise. We'll brush teeth. We'll get her in PJs. We no matter when we start, 8, 8:30, 9, 9:30, she goes to sleep at 10. And that is her biological clock. I don't know how it works.
Interesting.
It's weird. And maybe it had something to do with our lack of sleep training for this child in the early years, and we can speak to that.
Remark.
But she falls asleep head down and falls asleep in bed at 10, and she's up around 6:30 every morning. It's just that's her sleep pattern. It's been that way for a while now. So no, do I have expert tips for you? Heck no.
Here's what not to do.
Yeah, here's what doesn't work, and it's what we're doing.
We tried. So we did this one thing, and I credit to my sister-in-law. We got her. We went to the like the education teacher supply store and got like a
interesting,
like one of those calendar things, and like all the educators in this video are like, "Yeah, you dummy, of course you do that." But you put that, and then we took pictures of like each phase of the bedtime routine. Like we took a picture of Emmy brushing her teeth, and Emmy in bath, and Emmy getting her PJs on, and then we gave her the pictures and said, "All right, put them in your little wall calendar thing." So she puts them in there in the order of things. Say, Emmy, this is our nighttime routine. Like, what do we do first?
Okay.
And so she's like, "Oh, I take a bath. So it's time for bath." And then we like, "What's the next thing?" And she goes in her room, looks on her wall, brush my teeth. So she brushed her teeth next.
I really like
PJs.
that.
That's a great idea.
Well, it's cool and it works for a while.
Works for a while.
Until she gets bored.
Well, no, it's where it's effective in the whole. Here's the process of bedtime.
Mm-hmm.
Still doesn't help with the whole context of time thing.
Sure,
she's still like
because she's
wound up
walking
or
back and
whatnot.
forth, and sure.
So we do, and you mentioned book reading. Like that's one of our kind of like Maddie and I's like things. We think it's really important. Like we want to read to her from now until as long as we can do it.
Sure.
Right.
But thankfully, I will credit us. Maddie's done a good job of getting us down from like books unlimited to like 4 books. So we start each night like, all right, kiddo, like you got 4 books. And if she's doing like a tantrum thing where it's like, I'm not going to finish my dinner, or I don't want to do bath time or whatever, we're like, okay, now we only have 3 books. And she's like, no, I want 4. And it's like, well, you better get your butt in bed or get your PJs on. So she's learning that.
Give her that carrot. I get that. That makes sense.
Well, she's learned to push the bounds, and I think it's because she's also learning numbers. But she's like, I want $5. I'm like, no.
Oh, she's a negotiator.
She's a negotiator with everything. So the kid
The
negotiates
sales guy
now.
dad, go
So
figure.
it's like, so if we're going to start with 4, all of a sudden she's selling us high. She's like, I want $5. I
love it.
You're going to get 3 books if you don't go brush your teeth. Well, about 5. I want $5. I'm like, no, kid. So anyway, we're to that point though. So we do 4 books, and our crux though, and this is probably where you guys hopefully have some corrective suggestions for me. We always we read our books in bed, and then we sleep with her or snuggle her until she falls asleep.
Yeah.
And so poor Maddie, or I, mostly Maddie, is in there like reading with her.
Sure.
And then we turn out the lights electronically. We got a little Bluetooth on her light, so we click that and the lights go out. But then Maddie's in there till like,
Right.
10:30. Or if Maddie falls asleep with her when she's in there, Maddie rolls in the bedroom at like 11 o'clock. Like, what time is it? So
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
I don't have answers for you on bedtime, man. It's rough, but Emmy's biological clock is in bed by 10, no matter how early we start it. I don't know, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, pointers, I guess that's a little tough for us because we've been, and with both of our boys, we've been pretty spoiled. Liam, he was a good sleeper early on, and then like the first 3 or 4 months, and then he kind of hit a phase where he struggled. Well, then we did the whole sleep training thing at like 6
It's
months
hell.
old.
It's absolute hell.
It was brutal.
Sleep training
for
sucks.
3 days. I mean, I remember I just had scratch marks on my chest where he just
Oh,
beat
buddy.
me. But then after that 3 days, he was good. He's really overall been a really good sleeper ever since then. Just like every kid, he's went through sleep regressions though. And this most recent one, it was pretty bad. And it's funny that you said laying in bed with him, right? Because he was going through one, and me and him are super tight and best buds. And we'd read him the books, sing the songs, and he'd be like, "Dada, right there," and he'd point to his bed. The first time they say that, you're like, "Oh, well, I can't turn that down, right?" That's
You
so
say
sweet,
jump, I say how high.
right?
Let's go, buddy.
Yeah, they rule the house.
Yeah.
And so obviously, I crawl in bed with them and stuff, and but then it's like anytime I try to leave, he would lose it. And now, he opens doors and stuff, so I'd leave his room, shut the door. He's out there in the hallway, just crying, losing it.
Yeah.
Until I went back in there and laid down with him, and then until he fell asleep, and you'd have to sneak out, right? And so we went through that for like 3 days, and me and Allie are like, no, we gotta nip this in the butt. Like we can't do this every night, right?
Tell me about how terrifying the sound of little feet running on the floor is to you guys.
No. It gets better. So he would wake up during this phase. He would wake up in the middle of the night, open his door, walk in our room and just stand there at the end of our bed, just looking at us.
Oh no!
Like Allie woke up one time and she's
Horror
sleeping on
movie
her,
shit there,
right,
dude. Horror
right?
movie shit.
She woke up one time and Liam's just standing there like face to face with her, just looking.
Was he really?
Yeah. It's just like, Liam, what are you doing? And yeah, this is at like 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning. So he's like, what can we do about this, right? And so, I don't know. We struggled with doing this because it did sound kind of mean at first. But we put a baby gate on his doorway.
Lock him in, which
So
is
he can't get in there.
terrifying.
And like we would stand at the doorway, for the first several days, just so he could see us and be like, hey, we're still here. We're just not laying in bed with you. And then, but as soon as we'd get out of his sight, he'd lose it. He'd run to the baby gate and whatnot. But I mean, that probably lasted for 2 weeks, I'd say.
Oh my gosh.
And then now, he's good. He's back to sleeping in the bed, laying in the bed.
Okay.
And
Big kid beds? Are we like out of
cribs,
right?
Yeah, he's a tall kid, so like we did the toddler size bed that lasted for about a week. And
did
then,
it really?
So now we're on like a twin size bed with him. But yeah, so he's
Holy
in a
crap.
big kid bed. Brody, luckily, he's in the crib still. So I mean, he literally can't go anywhere. But we've been even more blessed with him, and we haven't even had to do sleep training with him, and he's slept. I mean, again, he goes through regressions, and he's teething right now on and off. So, you got to comfort him during that time and whatnot. But yeah, overall, yeah, we've been pretty lucky.
Good.
I mean, it goes in phases. So I don't know if I really have a lot of good tips. I mean, again, sleep training sucks.
Oh my
I
God,
feel
it's
like
the
such
worst.
a terrible parent
Oh
when
my
you're
God,
going
yeah,
through it, but
it is the worst thing.
it was 100% worth it with Liam.
Sometimes just hearing though, like hey Travis, they will sleep without you falling asleep. Like that's just comforting to know, like that will
Sure.
happen, right? We're
Yeah,
not sleeping
eventually
with her through high school,
it'll
right?
take a little bit, but they will.
Yeah, don't need to like get the California king so she can sleep between you guys forever. Yeah, well, that was, I mean, you and I talked about how you guys were doing the co-sleeping thing because that was the only way to get Emmy to sleep. And so I was adamant that we weren't going to do that because you had told me about it, and I was scared of that. And guess what we did for 13 months?
Yeah.
Was co-sleep because it was
Such a
the
good
only
listener.
way to get Elsie to sleep. Without doing the full-blown sleep training thing and then going back to, calling back to those noise-canceling headphones, that was the only way that was going to work, is that we were going to have to embrace the suck for a couple of days. And, like, the first night, I sat outside of Elsie's room. I put Liv in the noise-canceling headphones, and she went to bed and was watching a very loud movie on her phone. And I sat in the floor and had a 15-minute timer going, and I was just weeping, like just openly weeping, sitting in the hallway outside of Elsie's door listening to her scream bloody murder. And every 15 minutes I went in and patted her on the back. It was like kind of Ferber method, kind of just the pediatrician told us that we should wait 30 minutes, and I couldn't do 30, I could only do 15.
The longest 15 minutes ever.
Holy shit. It was the worst. And for an hour and a half, she yelled at me the first night, and then she went to bed and slept through the whole night. And it was the first time she had done that since she was 4 months old.
Yeah.
And the second night, I put her down, and in 10 minutes, she was asleep, and she slept through the whole night. And then for the most part, from that day on, she has slept through the whole night. Now, she's been sick, she's had sleep regressions, all those things happen.
Right.
But
Overall,
that was what it took, was just that hard nose, this is going to suck for a couple of days. And God, did it suck. It's just the worst.
I'd recommend, doing it on a long weekend. That's what we did with Liam.
I wish we would have thought of that. I didn't think of that. We just started it on a random ass Thursday, and so that Friday was a mess for me.
Yeah, we started
that Friday
on
was a mess.
Friday, but I had that Monday off, luckily.
Yeah,
and luckily
Baker's hours. We get it. No, he's got a lot of 4-day weekends.
Some Mondays they work. I get it.
Well, from noon to 2, we work on Monday. When we're not on lunch.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's Halloween. We talked about that.
Yeah.
So you and Maddie, it's after you've gone trick-or-treating. Your kids are old enough. You guys have gotten into that stage where your kids can go trick-or-treating and know that they're trick-or-treating. I'm going to take Elsie. She will have no idea.
Right.
We're going to take stuff and give it to our neighbors, not the other way around, because Elsie doesn't eat candy right
nice.
now. It's
Trying to bribe the neighbors. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Smart
small.
move.
It's small shot bottles of Fireball. So the 90-year-olds are going to love it.
Elsie's going to deliver it in person,
Exactly.
right?
Hand deliver it.
Yeah,
Here you
Yeah,
go.
from me personally.
So
Fire drink?
it's a fire drink. So it's Halloween night.
Okay.
It's after trick or treating. You and Mads are sitting down to watch a scary movie.
Yeah.
You and Allie are going to sit down and watch a scary movie, and inevitably you're going to go raid your kid's candy bag.
Oh, naturally.
Like you can't not. You got to take the dad tax. The dad
I've been
tax is a
looking
real
forward
thing.
to this since I became a parent.
Yes, absolutely. The dad tax is a real thing. What is the candy that you're reaching for first?
Okay.
Why? And are you telling your kid about it the next day? Travis,
Okay.
Go.
All right. First off, dad tax. I started implementing dad tax as soon as Emmy started eating food. So to be clear, dad tax is already in effect.
I get one French fry to your twos kind of deal.
Yeah.
Or-
Oh, you mean we're going to Mexican? You're not going to finish that quesadilla? Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
my
right.
case.
Sorry, sidetrack.
Please, no, that's what we want to
back
know.
to-
Same concept.
Well, Maddie always asks me, where did you get all this candy from? Right? And I say, well, I got a few Twix up my sleeve. So, it's always nice to have those those on hand, right?
Wow.
You're welcome, dads, everywhere.
That was,
I was going to ask you for a dad joke later,
know,
but I don't
right?
need to ask you
Right?
anymore.
That was money.
Yeah.
Like,
That was
good
really,
money.
really good, Trav. Go ahead. Please tell us more.
Yes. Probably if I'm talking about stealing candy from my children, the 3-month-old will also be going trick or treating with a bag.
Awesome.
To be clear.
Yeah. As he well should.
Yeah.
We'll save it all for him.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
When he can eat it.
Probably. It depends, man. It depends on the household. So if the house is given almond joys, there's a 100% guaranteed chance that my child will get no almond joys. that
That's
year
your
for Halloween.
go-to?
Really?
Of all the
It's a
candies
guilty
in the
pleasure,
world,
man.
it's Almond Joys.
Dude, you get a little
I
coconut.
like
get a
so
little
much
nut,
about
some
you
chocolate in
except
there.
for your choice in candy. Like so much about
Yeah,
you
I
is
thought that
good
was going a totally
except for
different
your candy choice.
Direction.
If you guys have any lying around the house,
Do you also
feel free
like
to drop them
Werther's
off.
Original? Like, are you
What?
1,000-year-old man? Almond Joy? Give me a break.
I would
Sorry.
like to.
Candy corn.
I'd like to Google a Werther's Original at some point.
You don't know
today.
what like those little caramel
Is that the
candies
caramel
that
thing
the
that you find in,
1,000-year
like,
like
the
the
little glass
grandmas
jars?
have? Yeah,
Yes,
the grandmas have.
Yeah.
That's
Man, I haven't seen one of those since Nom.
He's like, now that you bring
he's
it
got
up,
a
I
bunch
want some of
them. Yeah, I
those.
want some of those too. Almond Joy. Give me a break.
Yeah, man.
So that's your
Crush-
go-to.
Crush some almond joys.
All right,
Well, like,
all
but
right.
that's the thing. We don't have them just lying around the house. Like,
Of course not. No.
No one's
There's-
got almond joys unless they
there's
got a
Halloween
Werther's stash.
candy and then there's
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
candy.
So that's
Right.
separate.
Almond Joys. Interesting. Okay.
Otherwise, it's Kit Kats and peanut M&Ms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Standards.
And how are you explaining to Emmy how that candy disappeared?
Boogie Monster took it.
Noted.
It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I like
Yeah.
that. I like that.
So the thing with Emmy though is like she loves suckers. She loves like the colorful type candies.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
So
Starburst and or Skittles and all that.
Well, we don't give her. No, we don't give her much of that. I mean, it's mostly just suckers.
Nice.
Yeah, she doesn't eat candy very much, right? She's
Well, and
she's
I think
she's
at this
trying
point,
gum.
our kids are still too young
Yeah,
for like
yeah.
candy all the time. So I get
Right.
that.
So she'll have some of that, but like most 90% of her candy could disappear and she wouldn't even
Have
know.
no idea.
Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Is she going to be the one that's going to count it all out on the table
No.
to see how many she's got?
No, probably
Because
not.
that was definitely my little brother.
Oh, yeah?
Drew was absolutely the I'm going to count it. I've got 54 pieces of candy, Dad.
Yep.
You better not get in there.
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
So
That's going to be Liam.
done
for sure.
inventory.
is it really?
Yeah.
Well, and
When he
with,
gets a
with your
little older.
OCD kid, that doesn't surprise me at all.
He's definitely going to do that. Not this year, but he will. But no, it's funny that you bring that up. So my mom came down and watched the boys yesterday, and she brought a bag full of candy for them for Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really funny of what she brought though, because she brought these like full size candy bar, like the Twix.
The
Like
best house in the neighborhood does
like-
full size candy bars.
Right. Well, no, yeah, she brought like not the 2-pack of Twix, but the 4-pack. I mean, she like bought the big ones.
The jumbo
And
size.
she's like, I brought this candy for the boys, but it's funny because all the candy was like all my favorites, and so I don't know. If
she knew what she was doing.
I didn't know if she
knew
was,
what
if she was
doing.
tempting me to see if I'd steal from my child, or if she's like, I know the boys aren't going to eat this, so Derek, you just go ahead, right?
This is a test, son.
That's
Yeah.
mom looking out for you. That's what that was. That's mom looking out for her big boy.
And yeah, because like Brody, I mean, he's not even a year old. Like, he's
Yeah,
not going
no
to eat
way.
any of this stuff.
Absolutely
I mean,
not.
Liam would if we gave it to him, but heck no. I mean, those are too good to give to your 2.5-year-old. You know, so heck yeah, I'm implementing a hard dad tax this year.
What are you stealing?
Oh, definitely those big Twixes. There's Snickers in there too. Reese's.
Twix and Snickers, huh?
Reese's is another big one.
Yeah. Okay.
And then my wife will probably clean up on whatever's left.
Yeah.
You
Heard
know?
a statistic the other day. Most popular Halloween candy sold in the U.S.
Yes, I want to know.
What is it? I guess your guesses. I want your guesses. Number one selling Halloween candy
Is it
in the
Reese's?
US.
Is it? Oh, how do you say that candy that I just said accidentally? REESES.
Yeah, isn't that Reese's?
Reese's?
said.
That's
Okay.
what said,
I heard
yeah.
somebody say Reese's the other day, and I wanted to punch them in the face.
Yeah, they're the same folks that probably say
Missouri.
or the wolf.
Woof. Yeah,
Instead
or
of
golf.
wolf.
I say golf,
Yeah.
but that's because I'm an idiot.
Anyway, neither here
what
nor
is
there.
the number? What is the number one?
It is Reese's.
Yes!
It is the
Really?
Reese's. Yeah.
I know all
The
three.
number one selling Halloween candy is Reese's
I
peanut butter
wouldn't have
cups.
expected that, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Because
thinking-
Reese's are king. Actually, so that
I
was going to
thinking
be
like
my answer to
Smarties or
that
something
question.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have unpopular taste in sugar candy in like Skittles and Starburst. And
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
everybody hates the yellow Starbursts, but that's my favorite one.
Why? Why do they hate it?
I don't know. I remember
I'm a red
seeing
and
on
pink guy.
social media. See, I remember seeing on social media at some point that nobody liked the citrus flavor Starburst, that they didn't like the orange and they didn't like the yellow. And for me, those are my favorites. And so I like those the best. But if I'm picking something out, it's Butterfingers or Reese's.
Okay.
And they don't really make Butterfingers in small candies, so it's definitely going to be Reese's.
You like that peanut butter chocolate combo, don't
Yeah,
you?
yeah. This is a body.
Solid.
This is a body by peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah,
Travis.
yeah.
Built by peanut butter
Yeah.
and chocolate.
Yeah.
So we're getting towards the end here, so we do want to, of course, not miss out on our dad joke of the week. I actually reminded him ahead of time so that he would remember his and not just have to forget his way through, because
Yeah.
I unfortunately dropped that on him
Caught me
last
off
week.
guard last
Caught him
week.
off guard last week.
He wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready. So we talked about how I like to golf. So I actually had mine from the golf genre.
No
this,
way.
This week, go figure. The poor golfer that I am.
Well, it's funny because mine's golf related.
Oh, that's so
I
good.
hope we
Well, then
don't
we'll
have the
just go.
same one-
Wait,
same
does
one.
it have to do with socks?
Jinx.
No.
Oh.
Is it really the same one? I love it.
Here,
Okay,
here,
so
or you start it, I'll finish.
okay, there we go. So, hey, Travis, why do dads bring extra pairs of socks to the golf course?
Ooh, tell me why.
In case they get a hole in one.
Boom! Yeah.
Classic.
How
Classic.
We
stupid
didn't
is
even
that?
plan that. That is awesome.
You've been in Mexico all week. I haven't talked to you for a week. I normally talk to you like 3 times a week. I hadn't talked to you in a week.
You guys do a show together. I couldn't. Wait.
This is hilarious. I can't believe that. That's the
Oh,
greatest
man,
thing ever.
so
Well,
funny.
so much for having 3 dad jokes of the week
Wait,
this
I
time
gotta-
around.
I got a spare.
Travis's
Oh, what do you
I got
got,
a spare.
Trav? All
I
right,
got a
bring it. What do you got?
Why is it so cheap to throw a party at a haunted house?
Oh, I don't know.
Because the ghosts bring all the booze.
Yes. Yes, I'm into this. All right, Halloween theme. See,
right?
this is going to come out a little late,
yeah.
but this is still
Spooky
perfect.
edition.
Yeah, this is good. Spooky edition. What was? Did you said you had a second one? What was the round 2? Since apparently Derek and I had the same joke.
Do I
Did you have?
Do I need to say it again?
Well, the Twix one.
Yeah.
Oh, the Twix joke.
Yeah.
Shit, I missed it. That's 2 weeks in a row. Good Lord.
There. You get there.
We
I remember my first podcast.
Yeah, right? Good Lord. Well, Travis, we really appreciate you coming out, man. You're a big part of the reason why we did this. And then also you provided a lot of input while we were trying to plan this whole thing. So we were very excited to have you on as a guest. Thank you for telling us to remember copyright laws when we were originally trying to call this thing a total dad move. We appreciate you. So anybody else have anything to add that we didn't talk about while we're still on the air?
I don't think so. I think we hit it all.
Trav,
Again,
anything you want to
thanks
say
for
before we go? Anything you want to plug before we go?
No. Just appreciate all you good dads out there.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
Yeah, thanks for having
Just
me on, guys.
hey, you
Appreciate
know what?
both.
We call ourselves the decent dads because we're just okay. Well, we're not good yet, but hey, you know what? We're trying to get to good dads.
getting there.
So we're getting there.
Back to facts.
So all you folks out there on the internet, please seek us out on all the social media channels, like, share, subscribe, check out all of our both YouTube and Spotify side of things. And thanks so much. Hey, way to go, good dad. Decent dad.
Way to go,
decent
decent
dad.
dad.
Way to go, decent dads.
yeah.
Nice job. So thanks very much. See y'all next time. Thanks.
Maybe that is how we had that going last time.
Just because
There we
there's a
go.
little bit of a tight squeeze in here.
Yeah.
So
When we get that first big sponsorship, we'll get a new
yeah, we'll get a
table.
bigger table when the
Yeah.
sponsorship money comes in.
I can't
all
wait
right.
for the Mid-Missouri Bank podcast studio.
Right,
Right.
It's gonna
yeah.
be in a couple of years.
Yankee
so.
Podcast Basement. Sponsored by Mothers Brewing Companies. Please, mothers.